It's emotional stability to the test. Sometimes the ultimate test. When the playoff crunch is on, the players can get a little spirited. But with the playoffs just weeks away, it's time to come together for a common goal. And when it's indoor soccer, there are goals. Oh, there are goals. Here in Cleveland, the flag is raised. It's balls of fire next. And in Cleveland, they are ready for the NPSL Game of the Week on ESPN2 between the Baltimore Spirit and Cleveland Crunch. Take a look at the American Division standings. The Cleveland Crunch have clinched the American Division Championship, but it's the Baltimore Spirit on the rise in the American Division and the NPSL. Hello, I'm Dave Johnson. Welcome to the NPSL Game of the Week on ESPN2. This afternoon, one of the great rivalries in indoor soccer is rekindled between the Baltimore Spirit and Cleveland Crunch. We showed you that the Crunch, well, they have captured the American Division Championship, but it's the Baltimore Spirit that really is the talk of the NPSL. And speaking of the talk of the NPSL, my broadcast partner, Art Kramer, and since Mike Stankovich has taken over as player coach of the Baltimore Spirit, Baltimore has won 8 of 9 games. What's the story with the Spirit?
Well, Dave, they have done it with good defense. Coach Stankovich has gotten his team to be committed to playing good defense. And if you look at the points against average in their last 9 games, under 9 points per game, that is just phenomenal defense.
So phenomenal defense keying the Baltimore Spirit's run. Now, as for the Cleveland Crunch, we mentioned it's nice to have regular season success, an American Division Championship, but the Crunch have lost 3 of their last 7 games. What is going on right now with the Cleveland Crunch?
Well, remember, they got off to the great start, 28-3. They become unemotional in their last 4 games. Now, you've got to remember this when you watch the game tonight. These two teams played Friday night with Baltimore winning 19-10 in a game that was fight-marred. Now, Baltimore has beaten Cleveland 2 out of 3 this season. I think those 2 factors should provide a big emotional lift here today for Cleveland.
Emotion certainly a very big part as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. Let's take a look at these starting lineups for this afternoon's contest. First for the Baltimore Spirit, Chris Vaccaro gets the call in goal. Mike Stankovich and Lance Johnson on defense. Jason Miracle in midfield. We'll call him 1,000-point career scorer now, Franklin McIntosh, along with Kevin Sloan. And for the American Division champion, Cleveland Crunch, Otto Orff in goal, Andy Schmetzer, Oscar Dragicevic on defense, Tommy Tanner, Henry Gutierrez, and Hector Marinero. But the Crunch missing Zoran Karic out with a calf injury. And the third member of our broadcast team is the intrepid one, Greg Mace, who is standing by with the injured Zoran Karic. Greg?
Well, this will be the 11th game of the year that Zoran has missed. Explain the injury to us, because it's happened before, and how frustrating this is.
It's very frustrating. I just come back and I was thinking everything was okay, and you know, I just started playing. My first game against Baltimore Friday, I feel great, and then last night, the second quarter, I just started, you know, feeling sore again in my calf muscle, and I gotta quit. I mean, I gotta stop. So
it is a pulled calf muscle. You've been with these guys. Explain the level of frustration and perhaps anger coming off that fight against Baltimore a couple of games ago.
It's, I mean, I play against Baltimore for, you know, it's my 8th year, and it's every game is really close, and you know, it's really tough playing against those guys, especially over there in Baltimore, small arena and really loud crowd, and we play bad game. They play great game, and we got frustrated, and you know, so it was a tough game.
Find out what happens in just a few minutes. Zoran will be watching from the sidelines with the rest of us. Dave, we're ready to go.
All right, Greg, thank you. Certainly they will miss him. 157 points out of the lineup. The officials this afternoon, Tom Blandy, Rich Grady, and Mark Del Coral. And with that, it means we're set for balls of fire action on ESPN2, our NPSL Game of the Week. And Zoran Karic, he's not easily replaced, Art Kramer.
Well, Zoran's become a regular on this show. We saw him last week, Dave, and unfortunately for him, out again this week with that injured right calf.
Again, that's 157 points out of the lineup. He's second in the league, and on the Cleveland Crunch, Hector Marinero, the leading scorer, 202 points. The Baltimore Spirit in the road red jerseys. The Cleveland Crunch in the home white. Another good crowd on hand here at the Cleveland State Convocation Center. And again, this is one of the great rivalries, but overall the Spirit leading 11-5 in the season series, 2-1. But the Crunch has done better in the playoffs, and that's really where it counts. The Spirit trying to reverse that trend this year.
Yeah, the Spirit has struggled against Harrisburg over the last 3 years in the playoffs, but surprisingly, they've won 2 out of 3, and they've actually been one of 2 teams to win here in Cleveland this season.
A rare turnover by Mike Stankovich, and quickly Hector Marinero, but his shot is blocked by Lance Johnson of the Baltimore Spirit. Henry Gutierrez puts it on the carpet, but Chris Vaccaro in goal for the Baltimore Spirit, a 10.53 points against average.
Vaccaro, the veteran, Malia, the other goalkeeper for Baltimore, has gotten the more extensive work. but it's been Vaccaro lately who's been in the nets for Baltimore.
Jamie Christie with the header, but the quick outlet by Otto Orff, and we will see that this afternoon. That is one of Otto Orff's attributes, a strong arm and an over and back violation by the Baltimore Spirit. So another rare mistake by the player coach of the Baltimore Spirit, the veteran, 39 years old. And he's guided this team to 8 wins in 9 games since taking over. Hector Marinero on the restart. Marinero, a specialist in restart goals. It'll be a kick-in coming up for the Baltimore Spirit when we return. No score between the Baltimore Spirit, Cleveland Crunch, NPSL on ESPN2. Balls of Fire. Balls of Fire, NPSL Game of the Week on ESPN2. Due to time constraints, we move ahead to further action in our game between the Baltimore Spirit and Cleveland Crunch. 5 minutes left in the first quarter of this one. The NPSL Game of the Week on ESPN2. Look at Brad Smith for the Baltimore Spirit. Good target player for the Spirit. Free kick for the Crunch. Hector Marinero. Kevin Sloan paid the price on that one. Otto Orff. Again, if you're new to indoor soccer, you will see the goalkeepers jump up and become a part of the offense, especially a goalkeeper like Otto Orff, not only with his footwork, but especially with his arm.
Well, this is one of the smaller buildings around the league, and definitely a place where the goalkeeper gets a lot of work.
Scott Schweitzer trying to get it to Dougie Miller. Vaccaro in position, and Ronald Simmons covered well.
Good try that by Miller that time. He's a left-footed player, remember that, Dave, and he's twice had to turn to his right foot. Not as strong with the finish from the right side as he is with the left.
Zasowski on the ball now to Glenn Carbonero. Crunch make a defensive line change. Again, also for the fans new to the game, it works a little bit like hockey with the way they interchange the lines.
Well, this is a pace that Baltimore wants to play at, Dave. It's not an up-and-down type game so far.
Lance Johnson. Otto Orff. Save with the right hand. Otto Orff. Only his right palm kept that from being in the back of the net.
Well, good overlapping run this time. Look at McIntosh hold the defender off, and then Johnson with a three-point strike that Orff got down with the right arm to block.
John Garvey, it sails into the crowd. It's that time of the year. Take a look at your calendar. It's Madness of March. Women's basketball later today. The Atlantic 10 Conference Championship and the Southeastern Conference Championship, the SEC, one of the top conferences in women's basketball. It's later today on the Deuce. Stay seated.
And here's a good look from what the goalie sees, the off-the-ball running.
Doug Miller coming at you into coach's cam. Mike Stankovic jumps up into the midfield fray. We will go from the coach's cam from time to time. Great to diagram the play, see what's happening. Scott Schweitzer trying to create a play on the Cleveland Crunch. Doug Miller.
You know, with this view, no one's safe on the field, Dave, from the coach's eye. Sometimes you make a mistake, you're not in the camera's view, and you get away with it. But with that view, you see all 10 players, field players.
That's when they fast forward the tape, when they look at this in practice a couple days from now. They also probably turn the sound down as well. Teams do. Don't you do it at home? Hector Marinero. Chris Hanser into Cleveland Crunch in the white jerseys. Baltimore Spirit in the red. We are in Cleveland, Ohio. Dave Johnson, Art Kramer, Greg Mace, and so far a low-scoring affair. 3:12 left in the first quarter. The Baltimore Spirit, a goal by Kevin Sloan, a 2-point goal. The only thing on the board. Greg Mace is downstairs. Gregory, what do you have for us?
In the stands with the Iron Man of the NPSL, who's actually out with kind of a bronchitis cold, Tim Tima. Well, you don't miss many of these. How does it feel sitting in the stands?
No player took me out of the game. It took some bug to get me out, but it's the first time I ever watched the game at the Convocation Center since the All-Star game was here about 4 years ago, so it's kind of fun.
Not frustrating?
Well, yeah, a little bit, but I'm trying to enjoy and watch the team. I'm assistant coach, so I have to help Bruce out from a higher view, and, you know, we got to figure a way to beat Baltimore.
Tell me a little bit about what goes through your mind now down the stretch. You've clinched first place. You're still trying to get geared up for the playoffs, but it seems like this team is on a mission, obviously after being eliminated by Harrisburg last year.
Well, since I've been in Cleveland, the only acceptance is getting to the final, and we'll take it from there. And last year really hurt. We had a great season record-wise. We played well, and Harrisburg came in and beat us. And I think that is a big key to this year, that when we're playing so well, and we have to get back on track.
All right, Tim, enjoy the game from the stands. A rare moment, Tim Tima watching the game from the stands.
All right, the intrepid one, Greg Mace, working his way around the Convocation Center. You know, Art, he gets a good deal on tickets as well.
Well, Tima's a guy I played with in Milwaukee and Canton, and like he said, there's not many injuries that forced him out of the lineup, but came down with a bit of the flu. You better tell Macer not to sit too close.
Cleveland Crutch in the white jerseys. They trail 2-0, and that's what Tim Tima was alluding to. They're trying to find a way to beat the Baltimore Spirit, a team that has done well, winning 2 of 3 games against the American Division champs, the Cleveland Crunch. Again, we're down about the final 10 games or so for all teams in the NPSL. Omi Damazi for the Baltimore Spirit doing what he can as Baltimore facing pressure in their half of the field. 2-0 is the score. The Baltimore Spirit with the lead on the Cleveland Crunch. Ronald Simmons trying to force things for the Spirit. Now Franklin McIntosh. McIntosh with the silky moves. He's fouled.
Oh, nice move that time by McIntosh. Just a little inside out with the right foot.
Oscar Dragicevic gets called for the foul.
McIntosh can do it all. He can beat you one-on-one. He's a great passer of the ball, leads the league in assists, and he's just absolutely deadly on these restarts.
Franklin McIntosh. The eye of the tiger. The free kick. Spirit trying to add to their lead, 2-0 to Kevin Sloan. Sloan, the left footer, it's in the net. It's in the net. 2-point goal, Baltimore.
Well, we mentioned McIntosh being deadly on the restarts, and what's really neat is the pace of the pass that McIntosh set Sloan with. Just a beautiful weight to his pass that allows Sloan to just strike it into the upper corner.
Baltimore, 2 two-point goals from Kevin Sloan. 4-0 the score, for now anyway.
In the Far East, people have long appreciated the need for thoughtfully designed products that make efficient use of limited space. Crosswalk Space Saver, made in America, appreciated around the world.
Soon, you'll both be taking up less space. Space Saver by Proform.
Dave Johnson, Art Kramer, Greg Mace back with you from the Cleveland State Convocation Center. 4-0 now the score. Hector Marinero taking matters in his own hands. Chris Vaccaro, the knee save.
Yeah, you could see that when the center off was put in play. Marinero coast to coast.
2v1, Franklin McIntosh, Kevin Sloan again. He's got 2, almost 3, Orff, a sprawling save. Sloan digging in. Kevin Sloan, it's in the net. It's in the net, Jamie Christie, 2-point goal.
Well, 4 Cleveland defenders in the box, but not marking the man running through. As Christie all alone.
6-0 the score suddenly, another 2-point goal, and Orff made a wonderful initial save.
Yeah, Sloan had all day. Now, look at the defenders for Cleveland in the box. You see 2 of them in your screen, a third one coming in late, and they all left Christie alone. Christie finishes.
So the Cleveland Crunch calling a timeout. First-year head coach Bruce Miller wanting to sort things out as we look at Jamie Christie, who has been a terrific find for the Baltimore Spirit. And there's Bruce Miller, the first-year head coach of the Cleveland Crunch. Guided them so far to a 29-5 record.
Well, Miller has not had a lot to worry about this year as they got off to the great start. You see Otto Orff right there. But as we said in the opening, Cleveland not playing with the same emotion that got them to 28-3 and have really been a little bit lax in the last couple weeks. And that's something that Bruce Miller hasn't had to do a lot, and that's really get into their faces and say, hey, let's start playing. But this start should wake them up.
NPSL indoor soccer going on here in Cleveland. 6-0 the score in favor of Baltimore. But it is also championship week. Oh, it's a big day on ESPN. It starts with the Metro Athletic Conference Championship, then the Missouri Valley Conference Championship, and when the clock strikes midnight, let's head to the left coast, the West Coast Conference Championship, all on ESPN. Well, again, we're talking college basketball as well, and this is a time they call it March Madness for a reason.
Yeah, a lot of teams still on the bubble there. It's going to be some exciting basketball coming down the stretch here in March.
Cleveland is a team on the bubble right now, a 6-0 loss, but trailing 6-0 to the Baltimore Spirit here in the first quarter. And only 1:18 left. Again, 4 15-minute quarters in NPSL indoor soccer.
Well, if you're a coach and you're going to draw up a game plan on how to beat Cleveland, one of the things you'd have is to get off to a good start. Don't fall behind big early. And Baltimore's done just the opposite, jumping to a 6-0 lead.
Otto Orff distributes the ball for the Cleveland Crunch. As we have our own form of March Madness going on here. And that 6-0 lead a bit deceiving because it's 2-point goals at even strength, so it's really 3 goals, or maybe if you get 2 3-pointers, you're right back into it, a tie game. Cleveland trying to tighten up on defense, and you have to speculate that's what the subject of Bruce Miller's timeout was.
And that throw there by Orff is really the first throw that he's made the whole first quarter. Those long outlets have just not been there.
Chris Vaccaro is able to pounce on it as Chris Hanser was trying to create for the Cleveland Crunch. Time running out here first quarter. Bobby Joe Esposito on the ball. Now Doug Miller with the steal in transition. But the Spirit have 3 back to Cleveland's 2, but we have a foul and a free kick coming up for the Cleveland Crunch. Omi Namazi gets called for, but as example, Baltimore had more numbers back.
Right, but really no reason to foul there because, as you said, they did have the numbers back, but now they give Cleveland a dangerous restart with just 8 seconds left.
Hector Marinero on the ball. Into the box. Now Franklin McIntosh,
he's got
5
time.
seconds. 4 seconds, 3. McIntosh down in the box. As Andy Schmetzer trailing him. I think at that point, McIntosh was hoping to draw the penalty in the box.
He was trying to draw the foul, didn't get the call, and it was a good non-call.
Well, this is called making the most of 8 seconds.
And, you know, that 4 seconds is longer than it seems, and McIntosh trying right there now. He made a bad touch, trying to draw the foul. There was contact, but don't think that's a play you can call a foul there.
All right, 1 quarter of NPSL indoor soccer in the books from Cleveland. The Baltimore Spirit with the 6-0 lead on the Crunch. Back in Cleveland, 6-0 the score. There it is, mission control, where it all happens. The pictures you see come alive before your very eyes. From the Cleveland State Convocation Center, the crowd. And hopefully you at home enjoying this NPSL Game of the Week, Balls of Fire on ESPN2. The Baltimore Spirit, the team in the red jerseys, the road team with a 6-0 lead on the Cleveland Crunch. And again, the Crunch, the American Division champions. And the Crunch never been shut out at home this season in the first quarter.
Well, they are not usually shut out for any quarters, but the first time this season anyone has shut them down in the first quarter in their building.
You're Bruce Miller, head coach. What did you say during the break? But the Cleveland Crunch now have to get back. We'll get to that in just a moment. Jason Miracle with the pass. Now Kevin Sloan back to Miracle. A lot of room to work. Fires a shot. Or makes an amazing save.
Well, usually 3-on-2s last for about 2 or 3 seconds. That one, a good 10 seconds, Baltimore on a 3-on-2 advantage. Not much commitment by the Cleveland midfield or forward to get back defensively.
A defensive triangle Cleveland had to deal with there. A Bermuda triangle. And Otto Orff, look at the reflexes.
And look at Baltimore with the numbers 3-on-2. You see Gutierrez getting back, but Otto, this is about the second time from point-blank range that he's bailed his defense out.
Mike Stankovic having to deal with Henry Gutierrez. Stankovic trying to get the veteran call, but instead they call it against him.
Well, McIntosh is probably saying, isn't that the same thing that happened to me at the end of the quarter? But this time Cleveland gets the call.
Another restart, and again, as you talked about, this is one thing you do not want Cleveland to have. Too many of these opportunities. They've yet to convert, obviously, down 6-0. Andy Schmetzer, Chris Vaccaro makes the save. Correction, that was Oscar Dragusevic with the shot. Vaccaro with the save, a foul in the defensive third.
Well, you especially don't want to commit fouls against Cleveland when they have their back to the goal. See, that last foul against Baltimore is good. The guy was going to the goal, but when a player has his back to the goal, no need to foul him and give him a restart.
Jamie Christie trying to weave it through midfield for the Baltimore Spirit. Oscar Dragicevic on the ball. The Spirit control. All right, back to that point. Bruce Miller, the Cleveland Crunch, down 6-0. What was he talking about in between periods?
Well, I'd have to think it all comes back to emotion. you're in this building, you've got a nice crowd. There's probably 7,000 to 10,000 people here today. Let's get them involved. Let's start playing with a little emotion, see if we can't get the big crowd into it.
Well, you talked about emotion at the start. Again, both teams, Cleveland and Baltimore, finishing a stretch of 3 games in 3 days.
Which you wouldn't figure that it would show early in the game, and probably in the third, fourth quarters when you'll see some legs start to get tired. But they had all night to sleep, to rest up before this one. You wouldn't think it'd be a factor early.
Henry Gutierrez trying to create for the Cleveland Crunch, but there's just no room. A wall of 4 across the back for the Baltimore Spirit. Scott Schweitzer now on the ball for the Crunch as they're forced back to midfield. Gutierrez off the goalpost! Off the goalpost!
Well, Gutierrez is saying, wasn't that ball in? But it wasn't. It hit the underside of the crossbar, then the goalpost, and came out.
A pinball rattle on that one. Showtime for Henry Gutierrez.
Yeah, pardon the cliche, Dave, but Lady Luck shining on Baltimore. Watch this shot. Crossbar, goalpost, and out.
Now explain how it is a goal. It has to cross the line.
The whole ball must get across the goal line. And that time, no more than half of it across the line. Gutierrez.
Well, we certainly give Henry Gutierrez style points, but no points can go on the scoreboard. 12:31 left, second quarter. Baltimore maintains a 6-0 lead and possession. John Garvey trying to help create. Nice work on the part of Chris Hanser, getting back to intercept the ball intended for Jason Dieter. Ronald Simmons, bicycle time. I think Simmons saw Gutierrez and, all right, I could get up as well.
I was going to say, you saw Gutierrez at the offensive end, and now Simmons uses the bicycle to clear defensively.
John Garvey for the Spirit. Garvey pinned against the glass, no call. 11:56 left. Omi Namazi with the interception. We were trying to double team Franklin McIntosh.
McIntosh, a little nutmeg there. Hold it back and then through the defender's legs.
Bobby Joe Esposito says hello to Cleveland Turf. Well, indeed, we talk about the spectacular play of the NPSL.
Well, we've seen a few of these on this show. You see Simmons now using it at the defensive end to clear.
And there's Ronald Simmons. They used to call him Thunderfoot. But he told me a few weeks ago he didn't want to be called Thunderfoot anymore. So we won't do that.
Didn't like your nickname for him.
No, it was his before I gave it to him. Free kick coming up. Restart situation for the Cleveland Crunch. They try to get on the board. Hector Marinero into the corner.
And you see, that's where Cleveland's missing Zoran Karic, because that would normally be Marinero finishing that pass. Instead, it was Miller, and that ball went right under his foot.
All right, we're talking about our own March Madness in the NPSL, and it continues next week on ESPN2. We have an American Division clash between arch rivals, the Baltimore Spirit and Harrisburg Heat. And talk about emotion in this one, Arthur. It's the Harrisburg Heat that have eliminated the Baltimore Spirit 3 years in a row in the playoffs.
Well, that's always a great game in Harrisburg. They usually fill that Farm Show Arena, and anytime Baltimore comes to town.
Franklin McIntosh trying to go to town on that shot. Otto Orff with the swat.
Remember, it was McIntosh who starred for Harrisburg for a few years and then was traded to Baltimore, which even fuels that rivalry even more.
Brad Smith in the corner. Spirit jumping right into the fray. Jason Miracle loses the ball. Now the Crunch. Dougie Miller racing upfield for Carl to clear. Sowski now for the Crunch. Chris Hanser into the corner, but Carl has to come out. He'll have a kick in coming up for the Cleveland Crunch. So again, the Crunch have advanced into the offensive third. Now they need to make a chance to capitalize.
Carl was trying to play that ball around the boards. Unfortunately for him, it snuck up over the glass.
Hector Marinero and Kevin Sloan getting back on defense to make the block. And to make blocks in any form of soccer, you need gear. For gear, it's the fabled Soccer Traders Eurosport. 1-800-447-0570. The absolutely free, colorful catalog, the official catalog of the NPSL.
I sense a goal coming here off a restart.
On the restart, you're almost right. Dougie Miller. Marinero knifing through.
Can only give Cleveland so many opportunities. They're the best in the league on the restart.
Streaking through midfield, a foul called on Scott Schweitzer. There'll be a free kick coming up for the Baltimore Spirits. Look at the Crunch bench. Not much room to work here.
Well, a good foul by Schweitzer to not allow Miracle to get past him. If you're going to take a foul, that's the place to do it, in the middle third.
Because you don't risk a chance really of a time penalty unless it was a clear breakaway. And there are time penalties in indoor soccer. You see power play man advantage situations. And we'll explain that as that occurs. It is not yet. We have a 6-0 game in favor of the Baltimore Spirit. 10:24 left. Second quarter here in Cleveland. Franklin McIntosh. First player to reach the 1,000-point plateau in the NPSL. He's at 1,005 and he's on the ball.
And you see Cleveland's respect for McIntosh's ability to pass the ball. They don't come and double team him in the corner.
The bounce of the ball, not Baltimore's way. Now the Cleveland Crunch looks to go the other way. Now the Crunch, as time continues to wear on, risks being shut out in the first half. Out of war. The outlet. Hector Marinero trying to create as the playmaker. Mike Stankovic, player coach for the Baltimore Spirit. Stankovic, who at one point actually retired, has come back as now the player coach, having a career year and really getting into it with Oscar Dragicevic of the Cleveland Crunch.
Yeah, Stankovic has really gotten these boys committed to getting back. Seen it all afternoon so far, them getting back behind the ball and playing good defense.
14 goals, 15 assists for Mike Stankovic over the last 12 games.
I don't remember in this game so far Cleveland having a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1 situation. Something over the last couple of years we've seen time and time again. Teams come into this building and give away counterattacks.
Mike Stankovic, we just talked about on the defensive end. Again, he is a defender with the foul. So another restart
and this
situation.
ball's just outside the arc, which would lend you to believe that Marinero might try to shoot this directly for a three-pointer.
Hector Marinero instead crosses it, but Vaccaro is able to make the save.
Well, obviously, Hector and I aren't thinking on the same page
not in sync
on the restarts, and maybe that's why they haven't tallied one yet.
8:56 left. First half of play. Still no score for Cleveland in the white jerseys. They trail 6-0. In NPSL soccer, 2-point goals at even strength beyond the arc. It's like the NBA. There's a 3-point goal. Brad Smith trying to win the ball at midfield. Andy Schmetzer, the veteran. The Crunch sort things out. Cleveland unable to penetrate this defense of Baltimore that we talked about at the start has been the key to their surgence.
And now an over and back. It's going to force another Cleveland restart. It's got to be about their 9th or 10th restart.
Well, Hector Marinero, you wanted him to take the shot, Art.
Yeah, elected to pass. Good setup on the restart. You saw Vaccaro get down and make the save.
Scott Schweitzer now. Get on the restart. They work it into the corner. That sails over. It's Tommy Tanner trying to get the goal. We have a break in the action. 6-0 the score, but first we'll have another kick-in coming up for the Cleveland Crunch.
And if you saw that last restart by Cleveland, Dave, they made 3 passes. You know that their restarts are not on when they're making more than 1 or 2 passes off their restart.
Hector Marinero into the box, into the net it is. 2-point goal, Cleveland. Tommy Tanner with the tally, and the Crunch on the board.
Well, normally we would see Hector out top on this restart, but he goes on the ball, finds Tanner in front. Baltimore defender right with him, but I don't believe he was ready for that ball to be put in play as quickly as Marinero did. Allowed Tanner to knock that one home.
So the Cleveland Crunch have made it on the scoreboard with 8:17. There's Dancing Harry, and the Crunch with reason to dance. 6-2 our score. Zoran Karic, a pensive Zoran Karic, is unfortunately for Cleveland fans. He has to watch from the stands. Second leading scorer in the NPSL with 157 points. And Zoran Karic can only look stylish today. Usually he is stylish on the field.
Well, Z has sat out more than a few games this season, played in 24 of the Crunch 34 games. So this is something that's not new to Cleveland. They've had to play without the Z-Man for 10 games already this year.
Wasowski coming upfield for the Cleveland Crunch as they try to continue the momentum on the heels of the Tommy Tanner goal. Dave Johnson, Art Kramer, Greg Mace in Cleveland. Sowski trying to create for the Crunch. Kevin Sloan sticking with him on defense.
Well, Cleveland has the ability, Dave, to score a lot of points in a short period of time. It seems when they score, it's usually in bunches.
And now they're getting penetration more deeper into the defensive third of the Spirit. Scott Schweitzer on the ball for the Cleveland Crunch. Again, the Crunch in the white jerseys, Baltimore in the road red. We have 7.5 minutes left first half.
Baltimore content to sit back in their own half of the field and take space away.
Chris Vaccaro, he wants to take some time away. We're coming back with more from Cleveland. 6-2 remains our score for now. Dave Johnson, Art Kramer back in Cleveland. Fans are such a big part of the NPSL, and so is Greg Mace. Greg, what do you have?
Well, we got some special folks here in the stands today. This is part of the Big Buddies charity. In fact, there are over 6,000 kids here. They distributed 6,000 tickets to kids from places like the King Kennedy Center, the Girls and Boys Clubs of Ravenna, Ohio, folks who use Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Easter Seals. And a lot of these kids are getting to see their first indoor soccer game and having a great time. This is a great opportunity for businesses in the area to distribute over 6,000 tickets to some of these kids. And everybody, in fact, is enjoying today's indoor soccer game. Big crowd here today, Dave.
Indeed, balls of fire. And I saw one youngster with earmuffs on. Good reason. It's a very cold afternoon in Cleveland. They had some snow here last night. And yet another big crowd here at the Cleveland State Convocation Center. Glad you could be a part of it on ESPN2, our NPSL Game of the Week. The Cleveland Crunch in the white jerseys, Baltimore in the red. The Baltimore Spirit, they lead 6-2.
Well, both games that Baltimore has beaten Cleveland in this season, they've held Cleveland to under 11 points. And they're right on that pace again here this afternoon.
Look at the numbers so far. Cleveland actually out shooting Baltimore, but it counts on the scoreboard, and right now Baltimore has that advantage.
Well, no surprise that Cleveland has outshot Baltimore. They're one of the top 2 teams in the league with shots on goal. St. Louis being the league leader.
Spirit continue to put the pressure, the Crunch continue to put the pressure on the Spirit. John Garvey, Franklin McIntosh, Scott Schweitzer on defense against McIntosh. Does well.
Good play by Schweitzer to not dive in against McIntosh.
Hector Marinero with the step. Marinero into the corner, the shot. That was close.
Marinero, the best ball striker in the league. You see him having some words with Namazi.
Hector Marinero makes the most of the corner.
And notice where he places this ball, low into the far post. 2 things can happen there. It can sneak in the far side. 2 things that can happen that are good, or can sneak in the far side. And if you have a player crashing that far post, he can deflect it in.
6:02 left. First half of play. Indecision at the back for the Cleveland Crunch. The Spirit. Matt Rupp trying to make him pay, and Rupp, in fact, going at it with Oscar Dragicevic.
Rupp on for his first shift here for Baltimore.
Well, that's something we need to point out about 3 games in 3 days. You really need to go deeper on your bench in this situation.
And Rupp immediately comes off. It's important that first shift is a quick one. You don't want to make it more than about 30 to 45 seconds.
Look at the crowd enjoying this one in Cleveland. Enjoy it more. Cleveland get more on the board. Mike Stankovic, a rare miss kick. Left footer. Omi Namazi trying to pin it in for the Baltimore Spirit. Henry Gutierrez and Jason Dieter in an awkward collision. Called on Gutierrez, so it'll be a free kick for the Spirit in the Crunch defensive third.
And Dieter lucky there because his knees bent back behind him. You see a lot of major injuries caused that way.
Scary.
Watch Gutierrez, number 10 in white, and Dieter. But you see the way Dieter bends back with that knee, and he's fortunate.
So Henry Gutierrez trying to help out on defense, getting called for the foul, and now the Spirit.
And Franklin has had a few of these restarts already today. The last one, Stankovic misfired on. Let's see where Franklin goes with this one.
Yeah, Stankovic open to the right. McIntosh may look for the corner instead. He'll slide it through, and Orff has to get back.
Well, a good fake by McIntosh to make that wall move. Then he tried to find Namazi at the far post.
The Cleveland Crunch trying to find answers at the other end. Gutierrez on the ball. Henry Gutierrez, former North Carolina State player. who has spent some time in France outdoors before coming back to the States and to be a part of the NPSL. Franklin McIntosh, the old changeup, I guess you call it, Art.
Yeah, what's the fake, the first initial fake to Stankovic freezes actually Orff. It drew Orff all the way out to the side.
He's trying to pick up the player far post and almost got caught.
We missed the initial fake, but that's what set up that play.
Chris Vaccaro having to deal with an Andy Schmetzer three-point offering. Schmetzer again coming through, and Schmetzer can score from outside. Gutierrez once again. His shot is blocked by Stankovic. And now McIntosh creates a turnover. Sliding through is Oscar Dragicevic. And Dragicevic gets called for the foul.
Well, 10,000 people in Cleveland disagreeing with that call, but referee ruled the foot was up high on the tackle.
That's one way to get people on their feet in Cleveland, and it did. That'll be a free kick coming up as we look at the coach's cam. See what the Cleveland Crunch will do defensively against the Baltimore Spirit. 4.5 minutes left, first half. Baltimore's Brad Smith mucking in the corner, and Smith unceremoniously dumped. And again, he was involved with a fray on Friday night against Tim Team of the Cleveland Crunch, who's not in today's game.
Well, wherever Smith is, you're going to see some physical play. You saw Dasowski. Watch Dasowski at the end of this come and land on Smith. See the net. Now watch.
It's in the net. It's in the net. Brad Smith, 2-point goal, the back heel. And Baltimore continues with the lead.
Well, we saw Stankovic misfire on an earlier restart, but this time he makes no mistake. A great strike, low and hard, that was redirected in front. You see Stankovic, right side of your screen with the initial strike, and I believe it was Smith.
Brad Smith with the 2-point
front.
goal.
You know, had Smith not touched that ball, Dave, that may have been a 3-pointer.
Well, Brad Smith made sure, and the Baltimore Spirit with an 8-2 lead on the Cleveland Crunch. Almost had a 3-point situation, but it was knocked in by Brad Smith. And a 2-point goal it is for the Baltimore Spirit. They continue now with a 6-point cushion.
That was a nice adjustment by Stankovic. That ball was actually a little to his left, and he adjusted his feet well to get a good strike.
A Cleveland Crunch with a foul in the defensive third on Baltimore. Jamie Christie gets called for foul, looking like Stankovic.
But those are the fouls, Dave, that we talked about that you don't want to give. Anytime the player has his back to the goal, you just contain him and wait for the double team.
Andy Schmetzer will have the free kick on the restart. Tommy Tanner's in the left corner.
Marinero to the right side is usually where they go on these restarts.
And Scott Schweitzer in your screen in the right corner. Tommy Tanner, Vaccaro comes up big. He uses his body. And now the ricochet cleared all the way out to midfield. Baltimore Spirit, they stay back. They don't cheat on defense. Now Kevin Sloan. Matt Rupp overlapping. He has some space. Rupp trying to deke. 3:44 left, first half. 8-2 our score, Baltimore.
And I like the phrase, Dave, they don't cheat on defense. If you ask them forward, that's not cheating, that's just anticipating.
Anticipation is too long a word. Tommy Tanner with the shot, Carl the save.
You anticipate that your defender's going to win the ball so that you can get on the break, but it's important not to break before the defender wins the ball.
But if you lose it, then it's called cheating, right?
Exactly.
So if you win the ball, you're anticipating.
Your defenders and coach will certainly let you know that it was cheating if the other team scores.
Dougie Miller trying to score. Start in college in Baltimore, Loyola College in Baltimore.
Now, once again, a foul with the Cleveland player with his back to the goal.
Look at the foul situation. Cleveland actually with more, but Baltimore was starting to rack them up here in the second quarter.
And not only rack them up, but rack them up in dangerous places on the field.
Now this is beyond the 3-point arc where Hector Marinero will be able to strike this, so a chance for a 3-point goal. Marinero chipping far post, looking for Gutierrez. Back to Schweitzer, that sails. Big goal kick coming up for the Baltimore Spirit when we come back to Cleveland, Ohio. 8-2 is our score. It is Balls of Fire. Fabled Soccer Traders, an official catalog of the NPSL Eurosport. 1-800-447-0570, a number for that absolutely free and colorful soccer catalog. Dave Johnson, Art Kramer, Greg Mace back in Cleveland. Goal kick coming up for the Baltimore Spirit. The Spirit in the lead on the hometown crunch, 8-2.
Cleveland is coming out now with their first line, Gutierrez and Marinero, along with Tommy Tanner. And it's interesting, usually Bruce Miller puts Chris Hanser on that first line when Carriage isn't in the lineup. It looks as if with Gutierrez on this first line has really affected the second line for Cleveland tonight. Miller has not scored, and neither has Troy Dosowski, but it looks like the second line is a little bit out of sync for Cleveland without Gutierrez.
And Zoran Karic, second leading scorer for Cleveland, out with a calf injury, so the crunch dealing with that absence. The Baltimore Spirit in the red jerseys on the attack with 2:25 left here in the first half. Don't forget, coming up at halftime, we'll talk about the playoff situation in the NPSL, so you want to stick around for that. It is that time of year. It's our own March Madness. Tommy Tanner trying to spring. Hector Marinero instead. Mike Stankovic on the ball.
They've got numbers.
Stankovic, the rocket, Orff, reeling from that save. The Spirit again. Under 2 minutes left, first half.
And Cleveland looking to cheat a little bit and try to get a counterattack. It's important for Baltimore. They don't give anything away here in the last 2 minutes.
I thought that was anticipated.
It would be a big momentum swing if Cleveland were to get one here before the half.
At the back, Obi DeMazzi with the clearance. Now Scotty Schweitzer alertly gets back out of Orff as pressuring there was Franklin McIntosh.
It's been my experience, Dave. Coaches will always tell you the last minute, 2 minutes of a game or a half, don't give anything away.
Schweitzer trying to ruin that theory for Baltimore as he was streaking through, and a good look from our cameras as he was coming right at you on the coach's cam. Hector Marinero with the chip looking for Gutierrez. Henry Gutierrez from Cleveland. Tommy Tanner. A minute left. As you mentioned, our goal here certainly would help the momentum situation. Always been said, this juncture of a game is so critical.
When a team's playing low-pressure defense, Dave, it's important that defenders make overlapping runs around the outside because that's the only place there is space. Cleveland's defenders not getting around the outside.
You have to create your space, and in fact, that's what you're talking about. Right, Oscar Dragicevic launches one, hit ball in the box, but Vaccaro is the wizard.
And Cleveland wanted a handball. I believe it was Namazi. May have gotten away with one.
Over and back to call on Cleveland again. Once the ball is advanced from the defensive third, the defensive team cannot put it back over that yellow line that you will see on your screen. Good look at Chris Vaccaro and Otto Orff, the combatants at goal this afternoon.
Now, one thing Baltimore has to be aware of is not to get countered off this restart.
Franklin McIntosh, it's in the net! It's in the net!
That's a 3 as well, Dave, because that deflected off the Cowboy, Oscar Dragicevic, number 7 for Cleveland. And you see Orff just shaking his head in disbelief.
Franklin McIntosh with a 3-point goal. Again, it's clearly beyond the arc.
And watch this ball deflect off Dragicevic's left knee. Orff was there for the initial save, but Dragicevic just knocked it in the far side.
We're talking about momentum swings in the final moments of the half. Baltimore continues the momentum, 11-2. And again, in defense of Oscar Dragicevic, talk about the speed that ball was probably traveling. It's very difficult. He was trying to block it.
Well, they shoot him upwards of 55, 60 miles an hour. That one wasn't struck with all that much power, but Dragicevic didn't have time to get out of the way. And ironically, it was a deflection last night when Franklin got his 1,000th point, a deflection off Vincent Beck from Cincinnati to give McIntosh his 1,000th point.
Dosowski trying to lure Vaccaro out his shot, and the Crunch desperately trying to get points on the board as we run out of time. 10 seconds left. First half of play. We have a scrum along the board, so it'll be a free kick coming up. There's Franklin McIntosh.
7 seconds, enough time to get a good quality chance off the restart.
You talk about quality, they want to talk about it.
They may take a timeout and go to a 6 attacker in this situation, Dave, with only 7 seconds.
So we'll expect Otto Orff. So again, we look at Franklin McIntosh, you mentioned 1,005 points last night he reached in the game against the Cincinnati Silverbacks, and now adding to that total, the first player in NPSL history to surpass 1,000 points in a career. Well, the NPSL balls of fire. When it's balls of fire, you need to plan for it. Coming up 2 weeks, the St. Louis Ambush and the Detroit Rockers on the deuce. We will have that coverage for you. The St. Louis Ambush, the defending champions, but the Detroit Rockers working hard to make a difference in the NPSL. And there's, should we call him Captain Crunch, the head of the Crunch, George Hoffman, who's done such a wonderful job with this franchise.
A concerned head of the Crunch at this point, trailing by 9. You see Hoffman not even in his seat, down right next to the Cleveland bench.
And again, what a job he has done with this franchise. The crowds continue to come out. Over 12,000 recently for a game. Otto Orff will take the shot, but Carl lunges in Baltimore. Now with 2 seconds left, able to clear it out, but Orff was in effect the 6th attacker on that play.
And instead of going to the 6th attacker, they let Orff come up, and he hits a full volley, but didn't hit the target.
Halftime in Cleveland, the Baltimore Spirit with the lead on the Cleveland Crunch, 11-2. It is Balls of Fire. Station Center, NPSL Game of the Week on ESPN2. It is the Baltimore Spirit with the 11-2 lead on the Cleveland Crunch. Dave Johnson back at halftime with my partner, Art Kramer. We talked about at the start that the Baltimore Spirit, a team on the rise, and the Cleveland Crunch, the American Division champions, but having some trouble of late, losing 3 of 7 games. Just a momentary lapse, or what is going on this point of the season? What do they have to do to get back in this one?
Well, they need to play with a lot more emotion. They just seem to be emotionally spent at this point of the season. Probably won't see that emotion again until the playoffs, and it's really what the Crunch is trying to do, is sew up that home field advantage throughout the playoffs.
All right, you talk about emotion. Our Greg Mace is downstairs on the field level where all the emotion occurs. Greg?
That's right there. There's a lot of intensity down here. And just a few moments ago, we saw the owner of the Cleveland Crunch, George Hoffman, with the coach, Bruce Miller. In fact, they weren't discussing about a player to send in or a play that George wanted to send in. In fact, they were discussing the officiating in this game. And in fact, they feel like they're not getting some of the calls, but Bruce Miller doesn't blame that. He says, we're only getting one chance. We've got to move forward a little bit more on the ball. The Cleveland Crunch have outscored their opponents by 132 points in the first half this season. Right now, they're trailing 11-2. So you can feel the emotion down here. This is a very unusual position. And as you've been saying, Dave and Art, Bruce Miller has not been able to deal with this situation before. He simply hasn't had it. Dave?
All right, thank you, Greg. And we're getting set for the second half of play. Emotion on the way. The Baltimore Spirit with the lead on the Cleveland Crunch, 11-2. It is Balls of Fire.
Video. Your kids can collect all 6. One with every great-tasting $1.99 Kids Club hamburger meal.
And they have to be sophisticated.
The $1.99 Kids Club hamburger meal, only at Burger King.
How do I get myself into all of this?
What, babe? Motherhood, Justice's campaign?
Having a little trouble packing on pounds or getting noticed? Then drink this. General Nutrition's Total Core.
Balls of Fire, NPSL Game of the Week on ESPN2. Due to time constraints, we move ahead to further action in our game between the Baltimore Spirit and Cleveland Crunch. 7:43 left, third quarter. It remains 11-4, but the Cleveland Crunch, trailing by 7, continue to push. And again, we talk about a large crowd here, Art. The Crunch is able to bring their crowd back into the contest, and that can be so important, especially for a team like Baltimore playing its third game in 3 days.
And especially in an arena like this that's a little bit smaller, only holds 13,000.
It's in the net! It's in the net! It's in the net! Hector Marino!
And keep an eye on the first touch that Marinero makes to set himself. A beautiful touch that allows him to strike it. And strike it he does into the far side to beat Vaccaro, and it turns on the red lights.
The Crunch light has been lit. And we talk about the crowd getting fired up. Hector Marinero with the goal. The Crunch closing in on the Spirit. Stay there. Dave Johnson, Art Kramer, Greg Mace in Cleveland. The Baltimore Spirit lead 11-6, but Hector Marinero helping close things down for the Crunch. Getting a 2-point goal and more Marinero. Vaccaro's out. to make the save.
Now you think Marinaro's feeling confident, and after that goal, he immediately gets the steal.
Baltimore pushing forward. They need a goal. Orb making the save on the Franklin McIntosh. Mike Stankovich anticipating makes the header, but if he didn't make that header, Marinaro was alone, and we're starting to see more room at the back for Baltimore.
And we're going to see another restart as well, as Sloan took down Tasowski. And there you see the leading scorer in the league, Hector Marinaro, with already 202 points on the year. Leads the league in goals with 76.
You see the hit parade involved today. Also Franklin McIntosh, the third leading scorer for the Baltimore Spirit. So he's on the carpet as well. So a parade of stars. Zoran Karic missing from the Cleveland lineup because of injury. And that certainly has affected Cleveland's play. Stankovich banging on Marinaro. Marinaro trying to make that turn. Oh, Mike Stankovich can't believe it. He believes that Hector Marinaro
took a bit of a dive. But
I think that's the turn.
I thought it was a proper call.
Yeah.
As you see Marinaro trying to swing. Look at Stankovich grabbing that jersey. He's got his arms around Marinaro.
Hector Marinaro trying to break up the wall. Oscar Dragicevic. Kevin Sloan getting down to make the block for the Baltimore Spirit. Now Franklin McIntosh banging along the boards.
Oh, and then Franklin.
And Doug Miller and McIntosh, former teammates in Harrisburg. And a card given to McIntosh.
And now Baltimore needs to be careful here, Dave, that they don't lose their composure with a 5-point lead. It was actually a retaliation by McIntosh.
And look at the passion and intensity. That's player coach Mike Stankovich. And it's his players that have to corral him.
And this is something we saw last week when Cleveland played Kansas City. Zoran Savic, the coach of Kansas City, go nuts to try to excite his team.
Mike Stankovich with 6:16 left, third quarter.
Hey, 2 minutes. 2 minutes on. Hey, both of them got
Here's what we're talking about.
And now once the retaliation, though, is where it all happens. Here's the initial shot by McIntosh to come with the arm. You saw Miller hold him off with the right hand. But it's a foul that occurs after the play, which would mean there wouldn't even be a power play. So that's why Baltimore needs to keep their cool.
And again, Baltimore is the team in the lead, and that's a very good point. They don't want to all of a sudden lose McIntosh or Stankovich. And Mike Stankovich, there it is, and I think he held up for television purposes.
Well, it's almost unbelievable that Stankovich doesn't get a time penalty there. When you have an outburst like that.
All right, we need to explain the situation. McIntosh has been issued a 2-minute penalty. However, there will not be a shootout situation as we often see in penal time situations.
It'll be a power play for an unsportsmanlike on McIntosh. You see Cleveland leading the league on the power play, but remember, Zoran Karic is the quarterback of this power play, and he's out of the lineup. Forces Cleveland to move some people around.
Hector Marinaro into the box, and then again we talk about you put it in the box, an indoor socket, all kinds of things could happen. So there is a power play right now for the Cleveland Crunch, a man advantage for the team in white. They're the home team with an 11-6 lead on the Baltimore Spirit. 5:47 left. Andy Schmetzer to Hector Marinaro. So the Crunch with an excellent opportunity to close that 5-point Baltimore lead.
Cleveland likes to be patient on their power play, Dave.
Henry Gutierrez, the header, it's in the net! It's in the net! Doug Miller, 1-point goal.
Yeah, and watch again. A header at the back post, the second header we've seen this quarter. First Marinaro, now Miller. Nothing that excites the fans like a head ball goal, Dave.
All right, so I'll bring Franklin McIntosh out of the box.
And you see Cleveland patient on their power play, working it to Tanner, and then Miller at the far post with a header.
Oh, it is balls of fire in Cleveland. The Spirit hanging on right now. The balls of fire catalog is Eurosport, the fabled soccer traders. 1-800-447-0570 for the absolutely free and colorful Eurosport catalog.
Now, Dave, when it was 11-2, we said that it's important Baltimore doesn't allow Cleveland to make a big run. That when Cleveland scores, they need to shut them down. Well, Cleveland has scored the last 5 points to make it 11-7.
Again, Doug Miller, you just saw the goal score with the 1-point goal. Again, it's 1 point because Cleveland was on the man advantage. So teams back at even strength. And Ricardo once again called upon to make a save with 5:06 left third quarter. Franklin McIntosh working for space, but Cleveland able to close it down in midfield. And we have a whistle. So Ricardo has become more of a busy guy here in the second half.
Well, no doubt about it. You see him make the save that time on Tanner. Actually didn't even hold that ball clean.
Hector Marinero jockeying for position. Ronald Simmons to deny with the header. The Crunch really stepping up the pressure after trailing at the half by 9 points. And this is NPSL soccer, how quickly the tide can turn. Simmons with the sweep. Simmons again. Ronald Simmons for Baltimore. This is Desowski. Troy Desowski. Tangled up with John Garvey. He gets the foul.
Well, that outburst by Stankovic can work 2 ways. It can either fire Baltimore up, or it can cause them to lose a little bit of composure. And that's the one thing they don't want to do here. They still have a 4-point lead. It's important they stay out of the penalty box through the rest of this game.
Franklin McIntosh on the ball for the Baltimore Spirit, marked by Oscar Dragicevic. And the Crunch doing also a better job on defense as well. Kevin Sloan trying to get free. Too much defense by Andy Schmetzer. And it'll be a free kick coming up.
And another foul where the player has his back to the goal. And this time Baltimore is going to be the beneficiary of a restart.
Look at Franklin McIntosh. McIntosh on the ball. Slots it for Mike Stankovic. Stankovic again. Dumps it into the corner. Carbonero. But Cleveland will try to corral. Stankovic pins it in. Bobby Joe Esposito with a shot at it, but it'll bounce over the glass. 11-7 our score, 3:59 left. Third quarter of play. Busy goalkeepers, Otto Orff and Chris Vaccaro, and many of those saves spectacular for both.
And 2 veteran keepers. Both these guys have been around for numerous years.
McIntosh spanks it off the boards.
Vaccaro in his 16th season. Orff played 10 years.
Time flies. Franklin McIntosh. Hand check there by Andy Schmetzer. Omi Damazi. Stankovic. The challenge by Henry Gutierrez.
And Baltimore doesn't need to be in a hurry here, Dave. They would like to keep some possession of the ball and run the clock. Try to establish a tempo that they're comfortable with as opposed to this run and gun game that Cleveland likes to play.
Henry Gutierrez. Marinero trying to get in position. And Omi Damazi just slots it back for his goalkeeper. When Carbonero lost it for a moment. Stankovic with the challenge. The frenetic pace of the defense. The clearance by Kevin Sloan, that's too many lines, a 3-line violation.
And that's the second time this quarter we've seen Baltimore get careless, clearing the ball over 3 lines. This is something you just cannot do against Cleveland in their building. Got to try to play as close to mistake-free soccer as you can. They've made a few of these mistakes here in the third quarter.
Hector Marinero on the ball. Doug Miller, the ricochet on the half volley. Half volley situation always difficult. The ball's rotation deceptive. 2:48 left third quarter. The Cleveland Crunch down by 4 points. In the NPSL, it's effectively only 2 goals. Mike Stankovic. Look at the crutch, quickly closing off the passing angle.
Great job of double teaming.
Stankovic trying to come back. Omid Namazi. And now Namazi with the transition. He's got Dieter left wing. But Todd Nasoski stands up Omid Namazi at the yellow line.
And you see the pace, Dave, is starting to become up and down at a quick rate. And that's the pace that Cleveland would like to play at.
Tommy Tanner immediately under pressure. Mike Stankovic on Todd Nasoski. The crowd wanted a call on Stankovic. Juan Bader into the contest, so the Crunch using more legs here in the second half. Baltimore now, Jamie Christie. Finds space somehow on the board. He's tripped. This could be a card. It is.
Well, that wasn't a difficult call to make for Tom Landy.
Scott Schweitzer, who leads the NPSL in penalty minutes. And now Schweitzer.
And you watch again, Schweitzer just comes sliding over and clearly cut down.
Back to live action. There's a dispute from the penalty box.
Well, Baltimore not too happy about the foul that Schweitzer committed. They felt it was a little bit late, and as we've been saying this whole quarter, it's important they keep their composure. They're on the power play now. There's no sense in evening things up by getting an unsportsmanlike themselves.
But it did before the power play. Scott Schweitzer, he's found his place in the penalty box several times this season. Leads in that category, penalty minutes. Now, again, there's going to be a shootout here before the power play, before the man advantage. So Baltimore, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. They'll have 5 seconds to score on Otto Orff. If they score, it's worth 1 point. Then they go on a 2-minute power play. If a goal is scored during that period by Baltimore, it is worth 1 point. So again, 5 seconds for Kevin Sloan, who will take the shootout. Again, the player that is fouled does not have to take the shootout. Greg Mace is downstairs. Greg?
You know, last week here we saw a lot of good soccer. This week here in the first half we saw good soccer. Now it's a lot of words. They were exchanging words here on the bench, and we saw Scott Schweitzer get into it last weekend with Wes Wade from Kansas City. Again, it's McIntosh, Stankovic. They're all instigating. Dave?
Kevin Sloan, well, there's still instigating going on as we were just about to get the whistle for the shootout.
And as we have a minute, Dave, Sloan, 10 for 15 this season on the shootout. Very effective. It's converted 67% of the time.
Here we go. Mano a mano, 1v1. Otto Orff for Cleveland. Kevin Sloan for Baltimore. He has 5 seconds, this Kevin Sloan, to make it happen. Orff out. Sloan. It's in the net. It's in the net. 1 point goal.
Well, Sloan just elects to go with the old power shot. One touch and then a blast, and Orff not being able to react quickly enough. Saw that ball sneak under his right arm, but that's a hat trick now for Kevin Sloan as he scored the first 2 goals of the game and now comes back on the shootout.
Kevin Sloan with a 1 point goal, and now as we explained to you, Baltimore has a chance to score another single point on the power play next 2 minutes.
And that's Sloan's 15th 1-pointer on the season. He leaves the Spirit in that category. We saw Cleveland convert on their power play, Dave. Now we get a chance to look at Baltimore's power play for the first time today.
Good ball movement on the part of the Spirit. The Crunch hit a diamond on defense.
And look at who Baltimore has on the top. They've got McIntosh and Stankovic. Loads of experience there at the top of your power play.
Again, should Cleveland pinch a shorthanded goal here, that would be worth 2 points. 12-7, Baltimore with the lead. 1:18 left in the third quarter. About a minute and a half left in the man advantage for Baltimore. And Baltimore, again, we talked about, they have the lead. They can be more patient also with the clock.
Well, that's the one good thing about the power play here for Baltimore is it effectively kills 2 minutes of time, which you would think Cleveland wouldn't have many good goal-scoring opportunities on the man down.
He's left McIntosh. Mike Stankovic down with a step. And this will carry over into the fourth quarter. In the corner now to Kevin Sloan, trying to get the cross. Sowski on him. Loose in the box. Cleared away by Andy Schmetzer.
There's about an 11-second difference on the power play and game clock. So that will extend actually into the fourth quarter should Baltimore not score here
Franklin McIntosh immediately blocked by two Crunch players. Orff punches away. Omi Namazi, the offering, and look out in the seats.
You're not going to beat Otto Orff with many high balls. You saw Orff come and punch that ball over the top of Sloan. Otto over 6 foot tall.
So Cleveland's first possession on this power play. 38 seconds left in the third quarter. Baltimore in the red jerseys with the lead, looking for Hector Marinero. Vaccaro forced the punch away. And you can do the math on your screen, the difference between the power play and the time remaining in the quarter. 14 seconds. Hector Marinero now in the corner.
That's good experience penalty killing by Marinero to back it out, effectively kill time.
5 seconds left in the quarter. It sails.
And that was not a very smart ball by Miller, because Baltimore's going to have one last opportunity now, Dave, off a restart. 2 seconds gives you time to hit a quick shot and get a deflection. Let's see if Stankovic doesn't put all his players in front of Otto Orff and just try to crack one in there.
Mike Stankovic. And he makes one sail. One more tick in this third quarter. Fourth quarter, there will be 12 seconds left on the power play in the fourth quarter for the Baltimore Spirit. The Spirit with the lead on the Crunch, 12-7. It's Balls of Fire. Wheels of Fire, the NPSL and ESPN2 game of the week. It's Baltimore with the lead on Cleveland, 12-7. That 7 number, a low number for the Cleveland Crunch, but the influence of this man, Mike Stankovic, has made a lot of teams go low.
Well, Stankovic is a defender himself, so it's no surprise that he's got his players playing good team defense, and 7 points against Cleveland. Exceptional here.
Bruce Miller has guided the Cleveland Crunch to an American Division championship in his first season. But right now he's trying to guide them to a comeback win over the Baltimore Spirit here in Cleveland.
Well, he's concerned because of Cleveland's 5 losses this year, Dave. 4 of them have been when they've trailed after the third quarter.
The attendance continues to heat up around the NPSL. 11,987 here for the game of the week on ESPN2. The Cleveland Crunch in the white jerseys. They trail 12-7. As we return teams now at even strength, so that's how quickly that power play ended.
See Cleveland's 15-0. That's here in the Convocation Center. They're actually 27-1 on the year when they lead after 3 quarters. So a team that hasn't had a whole lot of success coming from behind.
Rarely been in that situation. Mike Stankovic now trying to win it for Baltimore. Instead, Tommy Tanner. Hector Marinero. Vaccaro comes out. Marinero into the goal!
Take a look at the goal of the year. No doubt about it. Call the ESPYs, baby. Look at this one.
Showtime.
Well, we saw Miller do it last week, but this one in much more dramatic style. That is awesome.
Well, that's the third bicycle kick we've seen this afternoon. Henry Gutierrez tried to score one for Cleveland. Ronald Simmons used one on defense. 12-9. Unfortunately, it's only worth 2 points, despite all the style and finesse displayed by Hector Marinero. 2-point goal. It's a 3-point game. Baltimore winning the ball at midfield. Baltimore's only scored 1 point in the second half.
Jay, these are goals that you get excited about when you score a great bicycle kick. And watch Hector's reaction. This is a guy that scored hundreds of goals in his career, but certainly none better than that one.
Bobby Joe Esposito into the game for the Spirit. 13:42 left, so the Spirit being outscored in this second half by a count of 7-1 by the Cleveland Crunch. Baltimore in the red jerseys, trying to get the win on the road. Brad Smith trying to set up John Garvey. Garvey wanted the call. Cleveland under pressure in their defensive third. Ronald Simmons getting into the fray. He gets the call.
I tell you, Dave, I played 13 years of indoor soccer. That has got to be the greatest goal that I have ever seen. Absolutely
with
outstanding.
The defender marking him. Not much space you would think to create, but yet Hector Marinero found a way.
The power to strike that ball with that much pace and also keep it down. Those are the kind you and I try in the swimming pool so we don't hurt ourselves. Yeah, even Vaccaro comes out and says, great goal, man.
Either that or he said, don't do that again. Free kick for the Crunch. There's a delay for some reason in the taking of the free kick. A discussion at the bench, the Baltimore Spirit bench.
Is that it?
We're not sure the nature will listen in.
You can't see.
12-9 our score.
They're all looking down to their left, something to the left of the Cleveland bench.
All right, we'll sort it out. We'll take a break. 12-9 our score. The Baltimore Spirit with the lead on the Cleveland Crunch. Fourth quarter action here on the NPSL Game of the Week on ESPN2. We're back in a moment. On the deuce, Baltimore and Cleveland, a 12-9 lead for the Baltimore Spirit. The Cleveland Crunch, though, the team of the second half after the Spirit had an 11-2 lead in the first. Hector Marinero.
Here he goes again.
In Baltimore, the red jerseys. Hector Marinero with a spectacular bicycle goal moments ago to bring it to within 3 points for the Cleveland Crunch. And a brief delay because the curtain was open on the concourse. The sun was glaring in on the field. The Cleveland Crunch, with 5 losses on the year, trying to avoid number 6 this afternoon, and Baltimore's been involved in a couple.
Yeah, Baltimore beat Cleveland here, but in all the Crunch losses, the visiting team, or the opposing team, has scored over 19 points.
12:31 left here in this fourth quarter. Scott Schweitzer leading the charge for Cleveland. Back to Marinero. Looking for help from the plywood. Now Lance Johnson in midfield for the Spirit. Jamie Christie, they quickly work it. Kevin Sloan. Sloan looking far corner. The Crunch getting more room to work in midfield. This is Doug Miller.
Well, Miller that time 1 against 4. Didn't take a look behind him to see if he had any support coming.
Baltimore, the Spirit. Brad Smith, left-handed save, but followed by John Garvey's one.
Great save that time from Orff.
Garvey crashing in. Now Brad Smith, it's blocked. And Smith a challenge from behind, and he gets a card.
Well, Dave, Smith doesn't agree with it, but I tell you what, it was the proper call because watch Smith's foot. Well, first we're going to see the initial shot by Smith that's blocked. But watch Smith come in with his foot straight up, and that's where the foul. See the foot straight up. He got the ball, but his foot is in a direction that's straight up, and you can't do that.
Shootout now coming up, and of course, as we talk about this, worth 1 point if Cleveland can convert. So a 12-9 game, 11:30 left, fourth quarter. It's Chris Vaccaro against Hector Marinero. 5 seconds for Hector Marinero to try to convert. Referee's whistle. Marinero off the crossbar.
And what Hector likes to do, Dave, is just push it once and then shoot over the goalie's shoulder. But that time, just lean back a little too much. Watch Hector's body position. He's just leaning back a little too much, and that causes the ball to come up over the top of the bar.
Cleveland now, though, with a 2-minute man advantage. The team in white. And if the Crunch convert here during this 2-minute portion, it will be worth 1 point. Marinero on the ball into the corner. Spirit collapsing on defense. They win the ball. Cleared out by Jason Dieter. So that helps Baltimore. It would have been a tremendous momentum swing into the corner again. Andy Schmetzer. Marinero. Schmetzer. Got from Carl lunging. Minute 32 left on the man advantage for Cleveland. Spirit responding to the pressure. It'll be a kick-in coming up for Cleveland. And Brad Smith, the guilty party.
Well, it's tough enough to defend Cleveland on the restarts, 5 against 5. Even more so when you've got a man advantage.
Marinero over the ball, and again, they work into the corner. Tommy Tanner would like that one back. He can't get it. It'll be a goal kick coming up from Baltimore.
Down low on the left side hasn't been a good place for Cleveland, as we saw Miller fan on the early chance in the power play, and now Tanner shoots one up high.
Now Chris Vaccaro can play with the clock a little bit. A minute 20 left on the man advantage. He works at the length of the field. 10:45 left, fourth quarter.
You talk about Cleveland leading the league in power play goals. Baltimore tied for the league lead in shorthanded goals with 5. They like to get McIntosh out offensively when they win the ball on their man down.
Get a team like Baltimore that has good defense, they can trigger a shorthanded situation, a shorthanded goal. Now looking for Tommy Tanner, difficult bounce. He seals it back. Now Schmetzer. Tanner with space. It's redirected in. And it's a cruncheroo, the crunch dance time.
Well, once again, Cleveland strikes on the power play, and off of John Garvey, but had Garvey not deflected that ball, it would have gone right to Doug Miller at the far post for an easy touch-in.
But Tommy Tanner.
Now, watch it hit the Baltimore defender, but see Miller behind Garvey at the far post would have had an easy one.
Tommy Tanner with the goals. We call it 12-10, the score now. Again, that's worth 1 point on the power play for Tommy Tanner. As you pointed out, Doug Miller was alone at the far post. 2-point game. This is what we expected from Baltimore-Cleveland. And that's also what we expected from Baltimore-Cleveland. And Tommy Tanner gets a victory walk on the bench.
And we spoke, Dave, earlier that Baltimore needed to keep their composure and stay out of the penalty box. They haven't done that. We saw another power play goal for Cleveland, and they're right back in this one at 12-10.
The Baltimore Spirit. In the red jerseys, Cleveland in the white. The Crunch looking for more. Ronald Simmons trying to handle the pressure at the back for Baltimore. He's able to sweep it away.
Well, Dave, 12 points is not going to win this game for Baltimore. They're going to need to put another couple goals on the board. They want to hang on here in Cleveland.
Simmons. And Baltimore almost seems like they're still trying to fight off the man advantage, but teams at even strength. That's a credit to the Crunch offensive pressure. Glenn Carbonero. Lobbying for ball position. Instead, they placed at midfield. Eurosport, the official catalog of the NPSL. 1-800-447-0570. Make that call for the absolutely free and colorful catalog. The official catalog of the NPSL. 9 minutes left, fourth quarter. Baltimore and Cleveland in Cleveland. Wasowski now on the ball. Nice feed across the middle. But it went wanting. Schmetzer trying to deke around Jamie Christie. And Christie gets called for the foul. It'll be a free kick, Cleveland.
Well, in the game Baltimore won here in Cleveland, they outscored Cleveland 7-0 in the fourth quarter. And now Cleveland trying to do the same to Baltimore. You see the foul here.
Wasowski with a beautiful feed.
And then right here comes the foul.
Baltimore now on the counterattack. Brad Smith from three-point distance. That certainly would have swung things had he connected. It looked like he was just beyond the arc. 12-10. Baltimore with the lead.
And an over and back on Baltimore. And this is a situation where I would think Hector will shoot directly.
He does. Vaccaro, though, read quickly, as you saw, barked instructions to line up his wall. Cleveland pressuring once again. Splashes off the glass. Marinero with the chip. Henry Gutierrez trying to get in position and also trying to get the call. Franklin McIntosh. Nutmegs.
With his 4th nutmeg on the afternoon.
Oscar Dragicevic coming through traffic. We have a whistle. McIntosh, the magic man. Oscar Dragicevic, who played for a while professionally in Germany, having trouble slowing down the NPSL's first 1,000-point scorer.
We saw McIntosh play to Sloan earlier in the game and resulted in a goal. He's got Sloan to his right again.
McIntosh elects it for himself. Sloan with the follow-up. So Baltimore hanging on desperately for a 12-10 advantage. McIntosh should get on the ball. Cleveland displaying a Baltimore-like defense. Omid Namazi. Jason Dieter. Dieter now trying to get into the box, but he was closed off by Dragicevic. And now the crunch counter. Marinero with the opportunity.
A great strike by Hector from about 45 feet away.
Dragicevic again. Dangerous redirection. Marinero was going for the header. That had redirected off a Baltimore player. Would have been a 3-point goal. Tanner. Knotted down nicely by Marinero. Tanner again. Hector, the thigh trap. Looking for the bicycle. He's trying to ride the bike. And now Franklin McIntosh in open field.
And Cleveland slow to get back defensively.
Baltimore miscommunication. Now Oscar Dragicevic. Baltimore in trouble. Dragicevic. Left side. Off the post. Andy Schmetzer. Splintering the woodwork. Now Kevin Sloan. Sloan. 1-on-2. It's in the net. It's in the net. 2-point goal.
Well, the Baltimore players certainly realize how big that goal was. As you see McIntosh hugging Sloan there as Cleveland came within an eyelash of tying it up at the far side. Schmetzer's shot hit the post, and now Sloan coming down to the other end with his 4th goal on the afternoon. Beat Orff to the near side.
So Kevin Sloan with the 2-point goal, and he was 1 against 2, as we saw in that replay. And the Spirit finally gets some breathing room back, but it's not much. A lot of time. 6:37 left.
Well, Baltimore was fortunate, Dave, because Cleveland had a great opportunity at the other end. Schmetzer made a poor touch to pull himself out of shooting position.
Jamie Christie knifing through. Schmetzer. They work it into the box. Brad Smith taken down. Does not get the call. Smith jumping back in, and Smith. Kevin Sloan, the goal scorer on the bench. He's done okay tonight.
Yeah, 3 2-pointers, 4 goals on the night, and an assist.
All he needs is a 3-point goal, and he can complete the cycle. Cycle being a 3-point goal, a 2-point goal, and a 1-point goal. Cleveland crunch. They've done a wonderful job in the second half of rallying to a 9-point deficit. They trail by 4. John Garvey with some space to work with. McIntosh, silky moves. It's in the net. It's in the net. John Garvey.
Oh, Garvey gets credited. But McIntosh is the man that the Baltimore bench is going to congratulate as he set up that goal with a picture-perfect move. Look at him. He's got 70 assists on the year. But watch this classic move to beat Schweitzer to the inside, draw the goalie and defender to him. And Garvey says, thank you very much, Franklin.
Franklin McIntosh showing why. 16-10, Baltimore with the lead on the Cleveland Crunch.
Play with the soccer ball of the pros, Candace, the official soccer ball of the National Professional Soccer League. Guaranteed for long-lasting high performance. Hand-stitched for superior quality, uniquely designed. Candace, the soccer ball of the pros. Available at soccer specialty stores everywhere. When soccer is the game, Candace is the name. Candace, the official soccer ball of the National Professional Soccer League. Candace for your team or league. A soccer ball that's one kick ahead of all the others.
Like a lot of other people, Alexi Lalas runs to work. The only difference is that when Alexi gets there, he doesn't have to change. Half running shoe, half soccer shoe. The equipment number 6 trainer from Adidas.
In the Far East, people have long appreciated the need for thoughtfully designed products that make efficient use of limited space. Crosswalk Space Saver, made in America, appreciated around the world.
Soon, you'll both be taking up less space. Space Saver by Proform.
Dave Johnson, Art Kramer, Greg Mace, and Franklin McIntosh in Cleveland. And Franklin McIntosh continuing to rack up the points in the NPSL. He surpassed 1,000 yesterday, a game against Cincinnati, and he continues to score here in Cleveland. They're an assist, though, with John Garvey finishing. Now, the Cleveland Crunch have come back before, now with 5.5 minutes left. They are the team in the white jerseys at home before over 11,000. And McIntosh dumped to the carpet.
But smartly by Franklin to walk away from Schweitzer there. See McIntosh with 1,005 points coming in. 69 assists coming in today. He's got 2 more assists to give him 71 on the season.
Cleveland are no doubt, and they expended a lot of energy coming back from that 9-point deficit.
But what you said earlier was interesting, the fact that they were playing Baltimore-like defense, and in the last couple minutes they've gotten away from that, allowed Baltimore to come with some numbers in their advantage, and Baltimore has made it pay off for them.
Ronald Simmons for Baltimore on the ball, and now this ball possession helps their clock situation. Baltimore trying to sneak out of Cleveland with a victory.
One thing when you play Cleveland here in this building, Dave, you must finish your chances when they come about, and until those last 2 goals, Baltimore had only scored 1 point in the whole second half, and it looked like Cleveland was going to overtake them.
4.5 minutes remain in our NPSL Game of the Week on ESPN2. Baltimore Spirit. We talked about emotion in this game. It's been a game that has gone back and forth, and the pendulum for now, Baltimore's way, but here comes Oscar Dragicevic trying to swing at the other. Cleveland has to be wary on defense. Long offering. Coming up next on ESPN2, it is Pawns of Fire. The revenge match between Kasparov and the Pendulum Computer. That's next, and this is how they play speed chess. Watch closely. The nimble moves, almost like Balls of Fire moves, Arthur.
Well, that could be an interesting game played that quickly.
Try to telestrate that at home. That's coming up next. It's Pawns of Fire, chess. Baltimore and Cleveland. The Crunch searching for the comeback. Chris Vaccaro makes the stop. We have a whistle just outside the box, so it'll be a free kick coming up for the Cleveland Crunch. Dangerous restart here, Art.
Yeah, Cleveland needs to capitalize here with just over 3.5 to go, down 6.
Tanner and Gutierrez, Tommy Tanner, Henry Gutierrez, the 2 players in the box for the Cleveland Crunch. Marinello rickets it off the wall. Again, right in front. Gutierrez looking for it. And Baltimore able to close it down. Now John Garvey racing up, pinned against the boards by Dragicevic. Darby swings around, but Oscar Dragicevic able to handle it. Now Henry Gutierrez, his three-point attempt blocked. 3.5 minutes left.
Once again, a good job by Baltimore's forwards to get back defensively behind the ball.
Cleveland working hard, still only down by 6 points. That's only 3 two-point goals. In indoor soccer, that's a lot of time. 3:17 on the clock.
Cleveland 1 for 30 on the restart. Boy, this one doesn't get any more dangerous, Dave.
Coach's cam shows you what Hector Marinero sees.
3 guys in a wall. That means there must be 2 white jerseys open. He's got Carbonera to his right, Dragicevic to his left.
Marinero tries to slot it through. Out of work, out. Keep the pressure on with Carbonera. Hector Marinero. More dropping back on defense. They're being very cautious now with the lead.
Yeah, no reason to get forward and try to score goals at this point with a 6-point lead. Look for Cleveland to possibly pull their keeper in the next 30 seconds to a minute here. Get the six attacker on.
Good point. When they do that, that'll give them an extra field play. Trying to increase that offensive pressure with only 2:39 left in the fourth quarter. Brad's digging. Feisty player.
Now they'll go back to their goalie and get that timeout and get the 6 attacker on.
You called it, Coach Kramer. A timeout has been called in Cleveland. The Baltimore Spirit with the lead 16-10. And the crunch bench, Bruce Miller, what are some of the instructions in this situation, the 6th attacker? You increase the offensive pressure, certainly leave yourself vulnerable.
Well, down 6, I'd like to probably get an open 3-pointer, get a look at a 3-pointer. See, Hector's going to be the man that's going to trigger this 6 attacker for a situation that Cleveland has not been in very often this season. They've only lost 5 games.
So Hector Marinero will be the 6th attacker for the Cleveland Crunch. Indeed. Madness, madness, madness. It is Monday Madness Championship Week underway on ESPN tonight. The Metro Athletic Conference, also the Missouri Valley Conference Championship, and at midnight, the West Coast Conference Championship. And then later, on Tuesday, the Midwestern Collegiate Conference Championship and the TCBY Belt Conference Championship. No bubble situations here. The winner goes dancing. Well, the TCBY Championship certainly should be a offering on ESPN.
Teams playing final, Dave. You definitely win a prize.
You mean it's not vanilla and strawberry? 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. On the road in the red jerseys. They lead points. Gone to the Marinero, who is done 6 attacker jersey. The Cleveland says to use his hand in his own box. Marinero, Kevin Sloan. Dragicevic, Carl Lundgren trying to smother. It's cleared away. Marinero. Bunch. 2 minutes down. Ronald Simmons with the header. Henry Gutierrez. Coming next, of course, the Intense Speed Chess Championship on ESPN2. And often here, balls of fire. We often play a little chess here. It's just something we do during the course.
Well, my pawn has definitely got your rook right there.
Which one's
this
the rook?
move right here? I definitely take your.
Well, what if I move my keep? This is fun.
I can't play as quickly as that computer, though.
We used to play checkers during the game. We've advanced.
Chinese checkers was my game.
That is, you'll see how the real pros play chess. With a minute 40, you're seeing the real pros of indoor soccer. Of course, one of those pros is a computer, so I'm not sure if the computer is professional or amateur.
Talk about you, Dave. I think we got there.
We'll give you a 3-pointer on that one. Hector Marinero going for a 3-pointer.
I tell you what, that was definitely a handball. It looked like from our angle, although I'm busy looking at a chessboard, it looked like Namazi Stop that shot from Hector with his hand inside the box.
But officials in position certainly didn't call it, so looks can be deceiving. We just watched our chess play. A minute 22 to the fourth quarter.
I think I would try to three-point shot up here off this restart.
Now they're down by 6, and a restart, an excellent situation you pointed out. Ronald Simmons closing down the space. Well, the Baltimore Spirit are the hot team in the NPSL. They'll try to maintain their heat in Balls of Fire competition next week. The Spirit against the Harrisburg Heat. And remember, the Heat eliminated the Spirit 3 years in a row in the playoffs. Mike Stankovic trying to make it 9 out of 10 today. They made 8 of 9 to be 9 of 10 today. And Stankovic, the player coach, is energized. And 6-point lead is not enough to make Stankovic relax.
Well, Stankovic won't be in the running for Coach of the Year because he wasn't there the whole season. Certainly has stepped in and done a great job.
Certainly that'll be an interesting award because Bruce Miller stepping in here at Cleveland in the first year.
Zoran Savic, Keith Tozer has turned that Milwaukee side around.
Schmetzer, Simmons blocking the far post, but Carl looking to lunge on it. He wanted to collect it. His players cleared it. A minute 12 left, 16-10. Look at Chris Vaccaro. Hard to believe he's been playing 16 seasons of indoor soccer.
Marinero having a word with his guys to make sure they're all on the same page here. Probably going to roll this one back to Hector and let him try a 3.
You called it. Tommy Tanner, Hector Marinero in traffic. Marinero the follow-up. Far post, Dougie Miller couldn't get a foot on it. Miller now. Schmetzer, into the net! Into the net!
That's a Trey.
Put down your chessboard at home at 16-13, a 3-point game.
Well, they were setting it up for that Trey. Marinero had a couple cracks at it, and then Schmetzer watched the ball deflect off the Baltimore defender. I believe Vaccaro may have been screened on that shot, Dave.
3-point game. This is why it's Balls of Fire.
And now Baltimore is going to take a timeout. Stankovic wants to regroup and set up that defensive formation against a 6 attacker.
Andy Schmetzer with the 3-pointer. The Spirit with only a 3-point cushion on the Cleveland Crunch. Speaking of cushion, how about cushioned soccer shoes? You can find them in the Eurosport Fabled Soccer Traders catalog, the official catalog of the NPSL. 1-800-447-0570. It's free. You'll like it. Otto Orff. Will he come back in now? He will. Otto Orff will come back in on the kickoff.
Until Cleveland wins the ball, and then you'll see him go straight back to the bench, and Marinero will come back on as a 6 attacker.
So Otto Orff will be in just momentarily. Then Cleveland will go back to the 6th attacker situation. One more 3-point goal. This game's tied. We're heading to overtime.
Right, and think back to that shootout that Marinero missed earlier in this quarter when Cleveland would only be down 2 at this point.
And they would then, of course, just need what you would think, an easier goal, 2-point goal. So we talk about nothing's easy in indoor soccer. So Baltimore with a break here, restart.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see McIntosh bring it all the way back to his keeper to try to run some time.
Kevin Sloan instead. And now they've got one defender back for Baltimore as Miller comes streaking through. They'll put it off the boards. Omi Namazi. Miller trying to get the call. He does.
Miller was trying to draw a shootout.
I think the referee knew there was a foul, but Miller looked like actually jumped into the glass.
The referee gave Miller the sign like he was diving a little bit.
43 seconds left. Cleveland, the team in the white jerseys, trailing by 3 points. 6 attacker Hector Marinero back into the contest.
And they need a 3, and Baltimore knows it. That's why Baltimore's stepping out so high. They don't allow Cleveland to get a 3-point shot off in this situation.
Again, the 3-point goals are scored beyond the arc, just into your screen. The white arc you see on the screen. Baltimore with 24
You know he's going to shoot.
Marinero sends it. Dragicevic across the box. Chris Vaccaro barking instructions. Tommy Tanner, 12 seconds.
Well, the problem is they need a 3, Dave, and they can't seem to get set.
7 seconds. Simmons steps in. 4 seconds now. The ball spinning around into the box. Vaccaro stops it. Game over. Baltimore escapes with victory.
Now Baltimore now moved to 500 on the road, 7-7. And are 3-1 against the Crunch this year and have beaten them twice here at the Convocation Center.
Did we say something about emotion? Baltimore Spirit now won 9 of their last 10 games. A combination of emotion and skill on display here. And the Spirit with the win over the Cleveland Crunch. Mike Stankovich has really got the Spirit moving in the right direction. Arthur, your thoughts?
Well, the one thing that they've done since Stankovich has taken over is gotten back defensively in transition and have not allowed numbers advantage against them.
Coming up next on ESPN2, oh, you know it, the Intel Speed Chess Championship, Kasparov against the computer. It's a revenge match. That does it from Cleveland. The final, the Baltimore Spirit 16, the Cleveland Crunch 13. For Art Kramer and the intrepid one, Greg Mace, I'm Dave Johnson. We'll see you next time. It's Balls of Fire.